The Money Mindset, 10 Beliefs That Keep You Broke by the Audiobook Space. Let me ask you something, and I want you to be completely honest with yourself. Do you believe, deep down, that you deserve to be wealthy? Not just comfortable, not just okay, not just able to pay the bills, truly, genuinely, extraordinarily wealthy. Because here is what I have discovered after studying the psychology of money for years. Most people do not believe they deserve it. They say they want it, they dream about it, they scroll through images of it, they talk about it with their friends over dinner. But deep in the basement of their mind, in the place where the real beliefs live, the ones that were installed before you were old enough to question them, there is a quiet, persistent, devastating voice. And that voice says money is not for people like me. And that voice, that single belief, is costing you everything. Today, we are going to go into that basement. We are going to find every single belief that is keeping you broke, keeping you stuck, keeping you working harder every year with less and less to show for it. And we are going to destroy them, one by one, all 10 of them. Because your bank account is not a reflection of your effort. It is a reflection of your beliefs. And beliefs can be changed. Before we get into the 10 beliefs, I want you to understand something fundamental about how money actually works. Money is not primarily a mathematical problem. If it were, every accountant would be a billionaire. Every financial analyst would be retired by 40. Everyone who passed their economics class would be wealthy. But that is not the world we live in. The world we live in is one where highly educated people are deeply in debt, where people with six-figure salaries live paycheck to paycheck, where lottery winners, people who received millions overnight, are statistically broke within 5 years. Why? Because money is a psychological problem first, a behavioral problem second, and a mathematical problem a very distant third. The science backs this up completely. Behavioral economists like Daniel Kahneman, Richard Thaler, and Morgan Housel have spent decades proving that human beings are profoundly irrational when it comes to financial decisions. We are driven not by logic, but by fear, identity, emotion, and deeply embedded belief systems that most of us inherited before we were 10 years old. Morgan Housel, whose book The Psychology of Money is one of the most important financial books written in the last decade, opens with a stunning observation. He says that doing well with money has little to do with how smart you are and a lot to do with how you behave. Behavior comes from belief. So today, we are going to examine 10 of the most common, most destructive, most invisible beliefs that keep ordinary, intelligent, hard-working people permanently broke. Some of these will feel uncomfortable. Some will feel personal. Some will feel like I'm describing your exact situation. Good. Discomfort is the first signal that something true has been said. Here are the 10 beliefs that keep you broke. Belief number 1. Money is the root of all evil. Let us start with the most ancient, the most widespread, and arguably the most damaging money belief in human history. Money is the root of all evil. You have heard this your entire life. Maybe your parents said it, maybe your religious community reinforced it, maybe you absorbed it from films, from stories, from the cultural narrative that portrays wealthy people as corrupt, greedy, and morally bankrupt, while portraying poverty as noble, humble, and virtuous. And here's the first thing I want to say about this belief. It is based on a misquote. The actual line from the Bible, 1 Timothy chapter 6, reads, "The love of money is the root of all evil, not money itself." The obsessive, all-consuming, soul-destroying worship of money as an end in itself, that is what the text actually says. But somewhere along the way, 3 words got dropped, and those 3 words changed everything. Because money itself is morally neutral. It is a tool, entirely and completely neutral, like a hammer, like electricity, like fire. The morality lives entirely in the hands that hold it and the intentions behind its use. A knife in the hands of a surgeon saves lives. The same knife in different hands ends them. The knife has no morality. The person does. Money in the hands of someone with strong values builds hospitals, funds research, lifts families out of poverty, creates art, supports communities. Money in the hands of someone with corrupt values does the opposite. The money did not make them corrupt. The corruption was already there. But here is why this belief is so devastatingly dangerous for you personally. If somewhere in your subconscious you believe that money is evil, that wealth is corruption, that rich people are bad people, then your mind will protect you from becoming one of them. You will self-sabotage, unconsciously, without knowing why. You will find reasons not to negotiate your salary. You will feel guilty charging what you are worth. You will spend every time your savings reach a certain level, not because you planned to, but because having money makes you uncomfortable and your subconscious knows exactly how to fix that discomfort. You will unconsciously repel the very thing you consciously say you want. This is what psychologists call cognitive dissonance, the unbearable tension between two conflicting beliefs. And your mind resolves it not by questioning the belief, but by changing your behavior to match it. The fix is not complicated, but it requires honesty. You must replace the belief entirely, not suppress it, replace it. Money is not evil. Money is an amplifier. It takes who you already are and makes you more of it. If you were generous, money makes you more generous. If you are disciplined, money gives your discipline more reach. If you are curious, money gives your curiosity more fuel. The question is never whether money is good or evil. The question is, who are you? And what will you do with more of it? Belief number 2, rich people are lucky, not smart. Here is a belief that feels like humility but functions like a prison. Rich people got lucky. They were born into it. They had connections. They were in the right place at the right time. They had advantages that I do not have. Their success is not earned, it is circumstantial. Now, before I challenge this belief, I want to acknowledge something important. Privilege is real. Systemic inequality is real. Being born into a wealthy family with connections and capital gives you an undeniable advantage in the financial system. I am not going to pretend otherwise because that would be dishonest. But here is what the rich people got lucky belief does to you psychologically. It removes your agency entirely. If wealth is a product of luck, of birthright, of circumstance, of forces entirely outside your control, then there is nothing you can do to change your situation. You are a passenger in your own financial life, a leaf in a river going wherever the current takes you. And a person who believes they have no agency stops trying. Why would you study investing if the market rewards only the lucky? Why would you build skills and learn to negotiate if salary is determined by who you know rather than what you offer? Why would you start a business if success is a lottery ticket rather than a construction project? The belief becomes a permission slip to stay exactly where you are. Now let me show you what the research actually says. Thomas Stanley spent decades studying millionaires in America for his landmark book, The Millionaire Next Door. His findings were extraordinary and almost completely opposite to the popular narrative. The vast majority of millionaires he studied were first-generation wealthy, meaning they did not inherit it. They built it from scratch, over time, through specific, repeatable, learnable behaviors. They lived below their means, they invested consistently, they chose careers and businesses in unglamorous, overlooked industries. They were not flashy, they did not drive the most expensive cars or live in the biggest houses, they accumulated quietly and deliberately. Were some of them lucky? Of course. Luck plays a role in everything, including this. But luck, as the great Seneca said 2,000 years ago, is what happens when preparation meets opportunity. You cannot control when opportunity arrives, but you can control how prepared you are when it does. The dangerous version of the luck belief is not the acknowledgement that luck exists, it is the conclusion that luck is the only thing that matters. because that conclusion makes you passive, and passive people do not build wealth. They wait for it, and waiting in the financial world is the most expensive thing you can possibly do. Belief number 3, I don't earn enough to save. This is the belief that almost everyone holds at some point in their life, and it feels completely, entirely, undeniably logical. How can I save when there is nothing left at the end of the month? I understand this. I genuinely do. For many people in genuinely difficult financial circumstances, this is not just a belief, it is a mathematical reality. And I do not want to minimize that. But for the vast majority of people who hold this belief, including people earning comfortable middle-class incomes, it is not a mathematical reality. It is a sequencing problem. Here is what most people do with their money. They earn it, they spend it on rent, on food, on subscriptions, on things they wanted, on things they did not need, on coffees and lunches and impulse purchases and lifestyle inflation that crept up so slowly they never noticed it happening. And then at the end of the month, they look at what is left and call it their savings. When nothing is left, the conclusion feels obvious. I do not earn enough to save. But the conclusion is wrong. The sequence is wrong. The wealthiest financial thinkers in the world, from Warren Buffett to the principles in George Clayson's masterpiece, The Richest Man in Babylon, teach the same foundational principle. Pay yourself first. Not last, first. Before the rent, before the groceries, before the subscriptions and the dinners and the new shoes. The moment money arrives in your account, a percentage leaves immediately into savings or investment, automatically, non-negotiably, before you have the chance to spend it. Clayson's ancient principle, pay yourself no less than 10% of everything you earn, sounds almost absurdly simple, but the psychological effect is profound. When you save first, you force your lifestyle to adjust to what remains. And here is the extraordinary thing. It adjusts almost every time. The human capacity to adapt spending to available resources is remarkable. When there is less available, we find ways to spend less. When there is more available, we find ways to spend more. This is called lifestyle inflation, and it is the reason people earning 3 times what they earned 5 years ago still feel broke. The problem was never the income. The problem was always that spending expanded to consume every dollar earned, leaving nothing behind. Pay yourself first, even if it is 5%, even if it feels insignificant, because the habit, the identity shift of becoming someone who saves is worth infinitely more than the amount. Belief 4. Investing is for rich people. This belief has kept more ordinary people out of wealth than almost any other on this list. Investing is for rich people, for people with large amounts of capital to deploy, for people who understand complex financial instruments, for people with advisors and brokers and spreadsheets and Bloomberg terminals. Not for me. And so most people never invest. They save in accounts that pay interest rates below inflation, which means they are technically losing purchasing power every single year while believing they are being responsible. And they watch from the sidelines as the invested money of others compounds quietly and relentlessly into fortunes. Let me tell you about compound interest. Albert Einstein, whether or not he actually said this, the principle is true, is credited with calling compound interest the 8th wonder of the world. He who understands it earns it. He who does not pays it. Here is what compounding actually means. If you invest $1,000 today at an average annual return of 8%, the approximate historical average of a broad stock market index fund, after 10 years, you have approximately $2,100. You did nothing. You made no decisions. You just waited. After 20 years, $4,600. After 30 years, $10,000. After 40 years, $21,000. From $1,000 that you never touched. Now scale that up. $100 per month invested from age 25 to age 65 at the same 8% average return produces approximately $350,000. $350,000 from $100 a month. This is not theory, this is mathematics. This is the most reliable wealth-building mechanism ever discovered, and it is available to literally anyone with a smartphone and a brokerage account. The minimum investment to get started with most index funds today is $1. $1! The belief that investing is for rich people was perhaps understandable 30 years ago when the barriers to entry were genuinely high. Today, it is simply false. And believing it, acting on it by staying out of the market, is one of the most expensive decisions a person can make over a lifetime. You do not need to be rich to invest. You invest to become rich. The sequence matters enormously. Belief number 5. More money will solve my problems. This belief is unique on this list because unlike the others, which hold people back from wealth, this one creates a dangerous illusion about what wealth actually is. If I just had more money, everything would be fine. If I could just get to $50,000 a year, then $100,000, then $200,000, then I would be okay. Then the anxiety would stop. Then the relationship stress would ease. Then I would feel secure. Then I would be happy. But here's what the research and the lived experience of almost everyone who reaches those numbers consistently shows. The finish line moves. Always, without exception. The person earning $30,000 is certain that $50,000 would solve everything. The person at $50,000 is certain that $100,000 is the answer. At $100,000, it is $200. At $200, it is $500. This phenomenon has a name in psychology. It is called the hedonic treadmill, the human tendency to return to a relatively stable level of happiness despite major positive or negative events or life changes. We adapt, upward and downward. We adapt to new income levels the way we adapt to a new temperature. Initially, it feels dramatically different, then it becomes the new normal and the dissatisfaction returns. This does not mean money does not matter. It absolutely does. Research by economists Angus Deaton and Daniel Kahneman, both Nobel laureates, found that emotional well-being does increase with income, but the effect plateaus significantly around a certain level of income where basic needs, security, and comfort are met. Beyond that point, more money produces diminishing returns on actual happiness. What this means practically is this. If your financial problems are caused by not having enough money, meaning you cannot cover basic needs, you have no emergency fund, you are drowning in high-interest debt, then yes, more money will help significantly. But if your financial problems are caused by how you relate to money, by overspending, by poor financial habits, by an inability to delay gratification, by using money to fill emotional holes, then more money will not solve them. It will amplify them. Because more money in the hands of someone with poor financial habits does not create wealth, it creates bigger problems at a larger scale. The solution is not to get more money. The solution is to become the kind of person who can handle, grow, and steward money wisely. Become that person first. The money follows the person, not the other way around. Belief number 6. Talking about money is rude. This belief is quietly one of the most financially devastating ones on this list, and it is uniquely powerful because it disguises itself as good manners. In many families, particularly in certain cultures and social classes, money is a forbidden topic. You do not ask what someone earns. You do not discuss salaries. You do not talk about investments, debt, financial struggles, or financial goals. It is private. It is gauche. It is rude. And this silence, this carefully maintained, socially enforced silence around money is costing ordinary people enormous amounts of wealth every single year. Here is exactly how. When you cannot talk about money, you cannot learn about money. You cannot ask the colleague how they negotiated their salary. You cannot ask the friend how they started investing. You cannot ask your parents what financial mistakes they made so you can avoid repeating them. You cannot compare notes, challenge assumptions, or absorb the financial knowledge of the people around you. You are flying blind, in the dark, in a vehicle you do not understand, on a road you cannot see. Meanwhile, wealthy families, and I mean generationally, durably wealthy families, talk about money constantly, at dinner tables, in family meetings, with their children from an early age. They discuss investments, they debate financial decisions, they share lessons from mistakes. They transfer financial literacy from generation to generation as deliberately as they transfer any other form of education. This is a major reason why wealth compounds across generations in certain families and evaporates in others. And beyond family, consider the salary conversation. Research consistently shows that employees who discuss their salaries with colleagues and negotiate based on market data earn significantly more over a career than those who accept the first offer in silence. The discomfort of one conversation, 5 minutes of awkwardness, can be worth tens of thousands of dollars over a working life. The taboo around money does not protect you. It protects the people and institutions that benefit from your financial ignorance. Break the silence. Learn the language. Talk about money. With your partner, with your children, with your peers. Not obsessively, not obnoxiously, but openly, honestly, and without shame. Because financial literacy is not a privilege, it is a conversation. And you cannot have that conversation if you have been taught that having it is rude. Belief number 7, I'll start when the time is right. Of all the beliefs on this list, this one may be the most expensive. Dollar for dollar, year for year, waiting costs more than almost any other financial mistake a person can make. I will start saving when I get the raise. I will start investing when the market is less volatile. I will start the business when the kids are older. I will get serious about money when things settle down. There's always a reason to wait. The human mind is extraordinarily creative when it comes to generating reasons to delay uncomfortable action. And starting to seriously engage with your finances feels uncomfortable, especially if you've been avoiding it for years and suspect the numbers are not going to be pleasant. But let me show you exactly what waiting costs. 2 people, same age, 25, same investment vehicle, a basic index fund returning 8% annually. Person A invests $200 a month at age 25 and stops at age 35. 10 years of investing, then nothing. Total invested, $24,000. Person B waits, decides to start at 35, the same age person A stopped, and invests $200 a month until age 65. 30 years of investing. Total invested, $72,000. At age 65, who has more? Person A, who invested for only 10 years and then stopped, has approximately $360,000. Person B, who invested 3 times as much money over 30 years, has approximately $300,000. Person A wins by $60,000 despite investing for only a third as long. This is not a trick. This is compound interest, and the single variable that makes the difference is time. Every year you wait to start is not just a year of missed returns. It is a year of missed compounding on those returns and on the returns of those returns. The cost of waiting is not linear, it is exponential, and it accelerates over time. The right time to start was yesterday. The second best time is right now. Not when the market stabilizes, not when the raise comes through, not when the kids are older. Now, with whatever you have, however small it feels. Because small and early is always, always more powerful than large and late. Belief number 8. Debt is just a part of life. We live in a culture that has normalized debt so completely that most people never stop to question it. Car loans, student loans, credit card balances, buy now, pay later, mortgages on top of mortgages, personal lines of credit, Store financing with 0% interest for 12 months, followed by devastating rates that most people never read carefully enough to anticipate. Debt is just part of being an adult. Everyone has it. It is normal. And this normalization, this collective shrug at the chains around our financial ankles, is one of the most effective wealth destruction mechanisms ever invented. Let me be precise here, because not all debt is equal. There is a critically important distinction between what financial educators call productive debt and destructive debt. Productive debt is debt used to acquire an asset that generates income or appreciates in value. A mortgage on a property in a growing market, a business loan that generates more revenue than it costs, a student loan for a qualification with genuine earning power. This kind of debt, used carefully and strategically, can be a lever for building wealth. Destructive debt is debt used for consumption. Credit card balances carrying 20% interest to pay for things you have already consumed. Car loans on depreciating vehicles. Buy now, pay later balances on clothing and electronics. Personal loans to fund vacations. This kind of debt is a wealth-destroying machine that runs 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. While you sleep, the interest compounds. While you work, the interest compounds. While you watch television, the interest compounds. And the most insidious thing about high-interest consumer debt is what economists call the opportunity cost. Every dollar going toward interest on a credit card balance is a dollar that cannot go into an investment. It is not just the interest you are losing, it is every dollar that interest would have compounded into over decades. Dave Ramsey, whose Financial Peace University has helped millions of people escape debt, calls consumer debt the most aggressively marketed product in human history. And he is right. Enormous amounts of money, creativity, and psychological sophistication go into making debt feel normal, feel manageable, feel like smart financial behavior. It is not. Treating debt as inevitable is surrendering. Treating it as the enemy, something to be eliminated as fast as possible, starting with the highest interest rate first, is the beginning of genuine financial freedom. Debt is not a part of life. It is a choice, and it can be unchosen. Belief number 9. I'm not good with numbers. This belief is almost always accompanied by a small, self-deprecating laugh. A kind of charming admission of inadequacy that most people have made so many times it has become part of their identity. Oh, I am terrible with numbers. Always have been. Math just is not my thing. And so they hand their financial life to someone else, an accountant, a financial advisor, a spouse, a parent, and never fully engage with the numbers themselves because they have decided at some point long ago that numbers are not for them. I want to dismantle this belief gently but completely. Managing your personal finances does not require mathematical talent. It does not require calculus or statistics or algebraic thinking. It requires 4 operations: addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. Operations that every adult can perform and that every smartphone can perform for you in milliseconds. The math of personal finance is genuinely simple. Spend less than you earn, invest the difference consistently, avoid high-interest debt, diversify, give time to do its work. That is it. That is the complete mathematical framework of personal wealth building. What personal finance actually requires is not mathematical skill. It is behavioral discipline, emotional regulation, the ability to delay gratification, the willingness to look honestly at uncomfortable numbers without looking away. Those are psychological skills, not mathematical ones. The "I am bad with numbers" belief is almost always functioning as a permission structure, an internally acceptable reason to avoid engaging with financial reality. Because if numbers are simply not your thing, if you were just born that way, then your financial situation is not really your fault or your responsibility. It is just a personality trait, like being bad at drawing or tone-deaf to music. But financial literacy is not a talent. It is a skill, and skills are learned. You do not need to become a financial analyst. You need to know your monthly income, your monthly expenses, your net worth, your interest rates, your investment balance. 6 numbers, updated monthly. That is the complete minimum requirement for financial self-awareness. You are not bad with numbers. You are unpracticed with them. And practice, unlike talent, is entirely within your control. Belief number 10. I don't deserve to be wealthy. We come, finally, to the deepest belief on this list. The one that lives furthest below the surface, the one most people would deny having if you asked them directly. The one that operates not as a conscious thought, but as a background hum. A quiet, persistent, devastating frequency running beneath everything else. I do not deserve to be wealthy. This belief rarely announces itself. It does not say in plain language that wealth is not for you. It disguises itself as something else entirely. It shows up as, I am not smart enough. I did not go to the right school. I come from the wrong background. I have made too many mistakes. I am too old. It is too late for me. Other people have something I do not have. It shows up as self-sabotage, the inexplicable urge to spend every time savings accumulate, the inability to charge what you are worth, the discomfort that arrives when income grows beyond a certain level, followed by unconscious behavior designed to bring it back down. It shows up as imposter syndrome that makes successful people feel they are one exposed mistake away from being revealed as frauds. Psychologists call this a scarcity identity, a deeply embedded self-concept that defines who you are in terms of what you lack. And the cruelest thing about a scarcity identity is that it fulfills itself. When you do not believe you deserve wealth, you act in ways, without knowing it, without intending it, that ensure you do not achieve it. The research on this is compelling. Studies in psychology and behavioral economics consistently show that people act in accordance with their self-image. When someone's financial situation improves beyond what they subconsciously believe they deserve, they find ways, often unconscious, always effective, to return to their baseline. This is sometimes called a financial thermostat. Just as a thermostat returns a room to its set temperature regardless of external changes, a financial identity returns a person to their financial set point regardless of income changes. It is why lottery winners go broke. It is why people who receive windfalls often spend them entirely. It is why some people cycle through financial success and failure repeatedly. The money changes, but the identity does not. The only lasting solution is to change the identity. Not the tactics, not the budget, not the investment strategy, although all of those matter. The identity. You must begin to see yourself as someone who is worthy of wealth, not because you have earned it in some cosmic accounting sense, not because you have proven yourself deserving by some external standard, but because wealth is not a moral reward. It is a practical outcome of specific behaviors consistently applied over time. You do not have to deserve water to drink it. You do not have to be worthy of shelter to build one, and you do not have to earn the right to be wealthy before you start behaving like someone who builds wealth. The identity shift comes first. The behaviors follow the identity, and the results follow the behaviors. You are not too late. You are not too broken. You are not too anything. You are someone who has held some beliefs that did not serve you, and beliefs can be changed, starting right now. 10 beliefs, 10 invisible walls that billions of people walk into every single day without knowing they are there. Let us bring them together one final time. The belief that money is evil, the belief that wealth is luck, the belief that you do not earn enough to save, the belief that investing is for other people, the belief that more money will fix everything, the belief that money is too rude to discuss, the belief that you will start when the time is right, the belief that debt is inevitable, the belief that you are bad with numbers, and the deepest one, the belief that you simply do not deserve it. None of these beliefs are true. Every single one of them was given to you by a family member, by a culture, by a system, by an experience, by a story you told yourself long ago that you have never stopped to question. And here is what I want to leave you with. Your financial life is not the result of your circumstances. It is the result of your beliefs about your circumstances. Change the beliefs genuinely, deeply, at the root, and the circumstances follow. This is not motivational language. This is behavioral science. This is what the research shows, what the biographies of wealthy people confirm, and what the lived experience of anyone who has genuinely transformed their financial life will tell you. It starts in the mind, always, without exception. You now know where the walls are. The question is, what are you going to do about it? If this audiobook experience hit something real in you, if one of these 10 beliefs felt uncomfortably familiar, drop it in the comments. Say the number. Say the belief. Just naming it out loud is the first step to dismantling it. Share this with someone who needs to hear it. Subscribe to the Audiobook Space for a new experience every week. Money, mindset, psychology, and the ideas that change everything. Until next time, stay sharp, stay hungry.